Hello there and welcome. For today's yoga practice, we are going to spend a little bit of time breaking down two new poses that you might have tried in previous classes. They are the warriors of yoga. So there's warrior one and warrior two. And we're going to take some time just to explore how those feel in our body. So first, though, we'll warm up a little bit. So I'll invite you to find a comfortable seat on your mat. So cross-legged is cool. If you need to stretch your legs out or maybe prop yourself up on a pillow, you're always free to, do what you need to do to make yourself comfortable. I like to squish around a little bit and get a sense of my sit bones. So really feeling those bones rooting into the earth. And something about that root helps anchor us so that we can lift up long through the chest, crown of the head lifting towards the sky. Hands can rest wherever they're comfy. I'm just going to rest mine on my knees, palms facing up. And as we're lifting and lengthening through the upper body, we can also bring some attention to our abdomen. So just drawing attention to those core muscles and seeing if we can gently engage them. So it might be a feeling of kind of squeezing the belly button in and up towards the spine. Maybe a sensation of the ribs kind of knitting together as we draw that energy really solidly into our center. And it's this sort of solid center and this sort of rooting action to rise that we want to try and find in pretty much every yoga pose. So let's take a couple deep breaths, really just feeling that in our nice easy seat. So I'll invite a big breath in through the nose. Maybe a sigh out the mouth. Yeah. And let's take two more like that. Big breath in. Maybe mentally clearing away some clutter on the exhale. Yeah, one more big sigh. Feeling free to make some sounds. Sometimes that feels really good, just to truly release something. Amazing. You can take more of those if needed, or you might just start to draw in a breath through the nose, exhaling out the nose as well. So we'll spend just a little bit of time here feeling our breath, and it's a deeper breath, right, than we normally engage in day to day, right? We're not really thinking about the breath, and so just the act of tuning our attention into our breathing, really giving it that attention, is like the first act of yoga. It's setting the tone right away that we're slowing down. This is time to turn our attention inward toward ourselves when so often our attention is appropriately so, right? Drawn outward into the world. This is really your time just to focus on you. So maybe for these next couple rounds of that deep, juicy breath, we can do our best just to mentally, again, brush aside anything that's on your mind right now, those to-do list items, maybe what's already happened today or what's coming after this, because those times are not here yet. They're maybe dead and over, or maybe in the future. So let's just see if we can allow ourselves the gift of this time, just to be here for a few moments. Just for about 30 minutes, can you give yourself total focus? Yeah, and then I'll invite us to drop our chins down toward the chest and start to kind of half circle. So we might inhale, rock that left ear over left shoulder, exhale back down through center, and then inhale, kind of rock right ear over right shoulder. So really any breath pattern that makes sense to you. We're just looking to stretch the neck and shoulders a little bit right now. Yeah, and some people like to go all the way back and make full circles with their head. That doesn't feel great on my neck, but you can feel free to experiment with that. And really, we're just, again, looking to take some time to set the tone, to check in with ourselves. How often do we really check in with ourselves? Like, how are you doing? You know, we say that maybe a bunch of times throughout the day to other people, but this is our chance to ask ourselves, right? Like, we're our own friend. How are you? What's been going on lately? Yeah. can let these movements grow bigger. So I might bring my palms down on my knees to start to sway a little bit side to side. Just moving with breath. Again, just slowly waking up the body here. Another really wonderful gift that we can give ourselves or choose to practice in this time is really just letting ourselves be here, right? Again, as human beings, we get so caught up in the to-dos in life, right? I think especially in modern times, there's so much pressure to be doing more, getting more done, accomplishing things. And these sways might turn into circles at some point. We might kind of fold over the knees and then sweep back. So I like an exhale on the fold. And then inhale to rock it up and back. And the head can be loose and free, right? Again, there's no way to get this wrong. And we're just being here. That's the beauty of this practice. There is nothing to do. There is nothing to accomplish. There's no one to impress, nothing to get right. This is just sacred time to be in our own skin and really experience what it's like to be in our own body today. What does it feel like to be in your skin today? We can start to take circles the opposite direction. You know, I think sometimes our relationship to being in our body, being in our own skin is a complicated one, you know? But maybe, just maybe, we can cultivate some feelings of gratitude just for the fact that we woke up today, y'all. We have a chance. We have another try at this life thing. What a blessing it is just to have woken up. You know, not everybody did. So, did I say switch directions of your circles? I'm not sure. I might have just done it without saying it. So maybe take a couple in the opposite direction just to kind of balance out. Take your time. Yeah, and then whenever you're ready, we can meet back up in that neutral seat and start to inhale, arms up overhead. So we'll just take a big breath in, sweep those arms up. Yeah, like a wide V. Plugging those shoulders into their socket. They always like to lift up towards the ears, so see if we can relax them down, make some space for the neck, and maybe turn up your chin. Take a couple big, deep breaths in this awakening, refreshing, victorious position. Maybe softly smile, turning up the corners of the mouth. Again, what a gift just to be able to breathe, just to have this day. And we might ask ourselves, again, in this very uplifting kind of shape, what kind of day do I want to have? Even if there's only a little bit left of this one, how do I want it to be? We get to choose. Yeah, one more inhale here. And then as we exhale, go ahead and bring that right palm down to the side, left arm up overhead. So we're taking a nice little side bend here. Yeah, so again, we always want to, keep that shoulder kind of rooted down, making sure the core is still active and awake here, keeping our lower back safe. Amazing. And we might, again, let that left ear get heavy over our left shoulder, maybe taking a couple turns through the neck. Listen close. This is like yoga twister. So we're going to take that lifted hand to our opposite knee, okay? Grab on tight. That's going to be like as if we're hanging off a cliff, but we're not. We're seated. So hang on to that knee, and then that right palm that's grounded, we're going to reverse it. We're going to take it open overhead this time. So we're just reversing that side bend and grabbing onto that knee, again, as if we're like hanging onto a cliff. Really helps us lean with support over to that right side. Should be feeling a nice stretch in the left side body here. So just take a couple breaths. Just being here. Again, nothing to do, not getting ahead of ourselves, not worrying about what's next, just letting yourself rest in this moment as much as possible. One more inhale, and as we exhale, that left palm, so another little twister move, is going to come behind us. So it's going to plant like behind our hips, low back area. And we can again use that pull of the knee to twist So we're gonna turn and look over our back shoulder. So I like to think every inhale, can I get a little bit longer? Crown of the head growing a little bit taller. And every exhale, can I twist maybe a millimeter more, wringing out that midsection like it's a wet towel. Ew, kind of gross to think about, but also kind of satisfying to think about. Yeah, how about one more breath all the way in. Finish that exhale, maybe twist a little bit more, strong core, and then we can inhale back through center. Amazing. Let's roll the shoulders a couple times. I'm feeling pretty warm already, so hopefully you are too. Feeling a little bit more connected to our body, to our breath, and we can once again inhale the arms up. And then exhale, opposite side. So we're going to take that left palm down, right arm up overhead for that nice side bend. A soft turn of that chin. Yeah, and then that lifted palm, we're going to grab onto the opposite knee, hanging on once again as we lift that other arm up overhead. And when we ask ourselves, how are you doing, right? Whatever the answer is totally okay. You know, anything is welcome on your mat, any mood, any energy level. It's just so important to take that time to really ask that question, you know? Just the act of doing that can be so, so helpful. Yeah, and then on our exhale, that lifted palm, we're going to take it behind us and twist to the opposite direction. So just turning over that back shoulder again. I think so many of our troubles in life come from or originate in our lack of connection to ourselves, right? Not taking time to check in, to assess how we're doing and what it is we might really need. Yeah, one more breath. And then as we exhale, we can come through center. Last little bit of warming up here. You guys are doing wonderful. Let's cross or roll over those crossed ankles. You can even just like sweep your legs to the side to come to a table shape. So we're gonna come onto hands and knees, cushion under the knees. If they're a little sensitive and tender, you can put a blanket down there, a pillow, whatever it is you need. And then taking palms under shoulders, knees under hips, nice flat back, core stays engaged. Light in those wrists. So there's a tendency sometimes to kind of dump all the weight into our joints. By keeping that core engaged, and the stronger your core gets, we'll be able to kind of hold our body up with our core muscles rather than like, heavy in the joints and the wrists. So if your wrists get tired or sensitive, just know coming onto fists sometimes gives them a little break. So feel free. And then let's just find some cats and cows here, guys. Let's drop the belly as we inhale, lift the chin, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then exhale, tuck and round. Chin to chest, head to hips. Just take a few like that on your own breath. It's an inhale to drop the belly, look up, arch the spine, cow pose. Exhale, we're gonna round cat. Wonderful. So yeah, just at your own pace. I love to close my eyes during yoga. I almost can't even help it at this point because you know how they say when you lose one sense, the other ones get stronger? Something about removing sight, right? Just kind of removing our vision really helps me to bring focus inward rather than being distracted by the outside world. Really kind of amplifies the sensations I'm feeling in my spine, just like every little micro movement as we go back and forth. And you might even take the hips a little side to side. Ooh, I just got a nice crack. Yeah, wagging your tail, if you will, looking over one shoulder at a time. And when we are not connected to ourselves on a regular basis, if we're not asking those questions, who are we connected to, right? Like, who's making our decisions for us? How are we moving through life, right? If we don't take the time to really do so consciously. It's no wonder why so many of us are not fully satisfied with how it is we're living and what we're doing day to day. I know, at least for me, it's default setting, right? Maybe we fall victim to other people's expectations of us or society's expectations of us, or just like weird thoughts and ideas that aren't even really ours and maybe aren't even really true. What matters to you? What kind of day do you want to have? And how can we make choices that align with that, that support that? So wonderful. Let's extend our left leg behind us. So my toes are going to come to the floor, ball of the foot. And if we press into the ball of that foot, you should get a nice stretch on that calf, whole back of the leg. So it's like I'm sliding my palms forward to the front of the room, pressing into the ball of that back foot. Yeah, and you can even pulse a couple times, back and forth. Really nice stretch for the toes, the sole of the foot, those places that don't get much love and attention. Yes, beautiful. And then a big, yummy twist in this shape. So keeping the legs as they are, we're gonna just go ahead and inhale that right arm to the sky. So we're opening up in this glorious heart-opening twist. Balancing pose, by the way. So maybe we're looking up at those lifted fingertips. Maybe that's too wobbly and we need to look down at the floor. That's fine too. I like to circle my wrist around while it's up in the air. We might even bend that elbow and bring the hand behind the head. Ooh, elbow to the sky, nice tricep stretch. Yes, one more big breath in, lift and lengthen, and then exhale, go ahead and release it down. Amazing, maybe a little wiggle between sides. And then let's go ahead and bring big toes together, knees come wide, child's pose. So we'll just go ahead and sit on the heels. Palms reach to the front of the room, stretching in front of you, forehead may rest down if possible. Just taking a couple of breaths, little rest, little break, so important to allow for some rest. That is one way we can honor our bodies, right? In a society that's always saying more, do, can we be those rebellious people who allow for a break when needed? So that we can come back to what it is we're doing, refreshed and resourced rather than drained and depleted. So on that note, let's inhale ourselves back up through that tabletop. And we're just going to take that the other side. So extending that right leg straight behind us now, toes tuck. We can press into the ball of that back foot to really open the back of the leg. Energetically sliding those palms forward with friction, maybe pulsing a couple times, back and forth. Riding the breath always, right? Maintaining that conscious attention to those inhales and exhales. Maybe y'all are hearing my phone buzz. Sorry about that, but really good example of you know what, someone's trying to reach me right now, but it can wait. This is dedicated time to spend working on ourselves, and whatever is going on right now can certainly wait because this is my priority in this moment. That is a choice we can make, right? Stepping off the rat race of constantly needing to communicate or immediate responses. Who decided that that's the normal? And maybe we can choose differently if we want to, if we find that stressful in life. Yeah, and then we'll take that nice open-hearted twist. So left arm this time as we press into those back toes. We'll peel our heart, our chest open to the ceiling. So yeah, You can do whatever is comfortable for your neck in terms of where you're looking, maybe up at those fingertips. Finding that strong breath. When a pose gets a little more intense, the tendency for so many of us is to hold our breath. So our muscles need oxygen in order to support us. The best thing we can do if this is challenging is breathe more deeply. It's going to give us some energy, some strength. It's also going to calm us down, because when things get intense, I know that my mind often gets riled up, right? So it will soothe our mind as well. How about one more inhale? And then exhale, we can release it down. Amazing job, guys. Yeah, maybe we shake out the wrists a little bit at this point, because we are going to use them just for a moment. So yeah, little shake. Let's do an official stretch, actually. So we can go ahead and sit on the heels or find any comfy position. Elbows hug our rib cage. Hands out in front of you and make some claws. Ooh, and then just circle those claws around. I'm getting like crunchy, cracky things happening. So, interesting. Can you hear that through the screen? Not sure what that's about. Yeah, we're making just some circles. We can high five motion. Pull the fingers back. Flip that palm down. Pull the fingers back. Same thing, high five other hand. Gently, gently pulling those fingers back. Yes, and then the other side, or other direction, fingers face down. Wonderful. Awesome. All right, guys. So we are warm. We are ready to feel out those warrior poses. So I will invite you to stand up. I don't have like a graceful transition for this, so you can just go ahead and stand. By the way, Mark, our exercise physiologist, told me that getting up off the floor, like sitting down on the floor and getting up every day, is a really healthy practice. Like if we find it difficult to stand up from being on the floor, making that a goal, like I'm going to try to do that every day, is really super healthy for our bodies. And the ability to get off the floor is a really important skill, especially as we get older. And so this is an opportunity to practice that. And guess what? It doesn't have to be pretty. We can slide the feet to one side. We can make our way to hands and knees and kind of press our way there, or however works for you. So go ahead and stand. It might feel kind of nice to stretch the legs at this point. I realize you can no longer see my head, so I will fix that, but I think the feet matter most at this point. So you can just listen to my words and then check out the legs. So I'll invite you to come to the front of your mat. So we sometimes call it the top. Take those feet so that they're under your hips, toes facing forward. So you can look down, make sure that, they're like a good distance apart. Knees over ankles, hips over knees. We want to create that nice alignment. Yeah, and so maybe we bring hands to our hips for a little bit of balance support as we take a big step back or a couple steps back with that left foot. So we want to take a big enough step so that this front leg is bent up to 90 degrees. Okay, so this is the lunge we're creating. We've done this shape before, and you can see my back heel is lifted. Hips are facing forward, deep bend in that front knee. Feeling a lot here, engaging that core for support. So this is a lot of work already. So this is our lunge, y'all. We lifted the arms last time. This is how we come into Warrior One. So the first thing to come from lunge to Warrior One is to take that back heel and pivot it so it's down. Okay? So from that lunge, heel is lifted, you're just going to turn at the ankle and spin it flat. So the outer edge of that back foot is rooted into the floor. And we might need to play with our stance a little bit, the way that I'm doing now. And it might take, if balance is really like wobbly for us, It might take walking this front foot out a little bit wider, so that rather than being on a tightrope with the feet, definitely takes balance. We have a little more wide and sturdy of a base. So the hard part, if this isn't hard enough already, and maybe it's not, I should have projected that onto you, is to turn the hips so that they're facing forward. The tendency is for that left hip to want to open up to the back. So we might think about spinning actively with core strength, that left hip forward. So like if there were headlights on your hip bones, they would be shining forward. This is Warrior One, guys. So hands can stay on hips. We might lift arms up overhead. Beautiful. Yeah, and then to come out of it, we can simply come out the way we came in. So turning on those back toes, maybe taking a couple steps forward. Oh, how'd it go? It's a long time to hold a pose like that, so please feel free to come in and out, take breaks, that kind of thing. Okay? You ready to try the other side? So we will do it the way we did before, which is starting from the top of the mat, front of the mat, again, checking out that foundation of feet under hips. I think I'm going to ditch my mat, actually, because it's a very old mat, and I find that my feet slip on it. So I'm going to do it on the floor, which you can do too if you find that you're slipping. So, yeah, from our standing pose, hands might come to the hips. That right foot now, we can take a couple steps or maybe just one big step back into that lunge. This angle might be a little easier to see too. So you can see I'm on my back toes. Hips are facing forward, deep bend in that front knee. And by the way, like we can have like not as much of a bend if we're getting tired, right? That's another way we can modify, back off a little bit out of that lunge. But yeah, we're aiming for 90 degrees. We're aiming for a straight, strong back leg. This is our lunge, hips facing forward. And to take that Warrior One, we're just gonna spin the back heel down, right? So in order to turn, you can see that when I spun my back heel down, this hip wanted to open. So we want it to be, again, facing forward. So sometimes that takes like wiggling the feet around a little bit and playing with the stance. So what I'm gonna do is, again, walk this front leg a little bit more to the left, like a little bit wider, and shorten my lunge a little bit. And then from there, you might be able to see that I can turn a little bit more easily. That right hip forward, it rotates so that my hips are facing the front of the room. Cool. And then we're rooting through those feet. Remember we talked about in the beginning that rooting action, like feeling those strong legs, strong feet pressing into the earth so that we can get long and tall through our side body, core draws in, belly engaged. And yeah, maybe those arms float up. You stay there. I'm just gonna, yeah, so it's like this. Warrior One, beautiful. Our hands can be on hips. So really, guys, it's just a lunge with the back heel turned down. That's all. Amazing. And when you're ready, you're like, I'm beyond ready. We can, again, turn on those back toes. A couple steps or a big step. Back up to that mountain pose. How'd it go? Does that make sense? You can't answer me. I don't know why I'm asking. Although you can email me if you have questions about that. I think that I'm going to save Warrior 2. After going through all that, I feel like maybe that's a whole separate class, so I think that we'll do that next week. You want to try it one more time? Let's try it. Let's do our Warrior One. So, finding that position, top of the mat. Big step back with the left foot. We're in our lunge, the back heel is lifted. I'm just gonna spin that back heel flat. Maybe again, playing with the foundation, perhaps taking the feet a little wider, deep bend in that front knee, hips face forward. Arms can lift.
strong legs, right? Tight core, lifting light. And then we can turn on the back toes. Wow. Amazing. Maybe a little wiggle, a little kick of the legs, just kind of shaking that out. Right foot comes back a couple steps, maybe a couple big steps. Yeah. We're in our lunge, back heel is lifted. We spin it flat. And feeling free to play with the spacing of your feet, finding a way to make enough room that we can start to feel that right hip moving forward. And it might not get all the way there, guys. By the way, we might be in a place where like a little bit open to the side still is the closest we can get, and that's totally fine. So don't push it too hard, don't hurt yourself. It's just the energy we want to feel. We want to feel the action of rotating that right hip forward. And with time, as we get a little more flexible, you will start to notice a difference. You will. It just takes a matter of time and practice before maintaining this hips forward, deep lunge becomes a little bit easier. So when you're ready, you can come on those back toes. Wah. Yeah, step it up, top of the mat. Maybe a little shake. And from your standing position, you might just take a final moment. We can bring hands to heart center. You can certainly sit if you need to. Close the eyes. Just final couple breaths together to wrap that up. Maybe feeling the breath a little more deep and full, and because we were working ourselves, right? So feeling the heartbeat maybe beating a little faster, enjoying that feeling of having gotten the blood pumping, breath moving, working our bodies in such a beautiful way. And I want to thank you, and I encourage you to thank yourself for taking this time, choosing to devote just a little bit of time to working on you and taking care of you. And knowing that really and truly when we take this time on a regular basis, we are better able to serve all the other people that we come into contact with and all of our other duties and obligations in life. So thank you so much. Namaste to all of you. Warrior 2 next time. I think this was plenty. All right, guys. Bye. Thank you.